Hey everyone, it's me, George LaRocque. Welcome back to WorkTech. I'm excited to talk about something new, innovative, and different with everyone today. Tracey Parsons from Flockity is here to tell us all about what she's up to with Flockity, launching this new product that I'm hearing a lot of things about. Welcome, Tracey.
Thanks, George. Good to be here.
Yeah, well, let's just launch right into it. For those that don't know you, can you give a quick introduction? You know who you are and what brought you to Flockity?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Tracey Parsons, and I've been in the recruitment marketing, advertising, employer brand space since the late 1900s. That my son always likes to point out to me. He's like, my mom's been doing this since the late 1900s. So I was like, oh my God. Um, First, one of the first banner ads on the internet for recruiting, I placed that. I helped companies start recruiting using Usenet groups, how to post jobs there. Fast forward to social media, helped a company get into social recruiting back in '05 when there was this little platform called MySpace. So I've been in the driver's seat of this kind of talent revolution for over 20 years, and I have always been a challenger of the status quo. Just because something is the way it is doesn't make it right.
Yeah,
And that's kind of how Flockity got started, right?
cool. And so, what is Flockity?
Yeah. So Flockity is essentially where influencer marketing meets recruitment marketing. And it kind of came to pass that everything that's ever been done that's innovative in the recruiting space, like I mentioned, from banner ads in the late 1900s to today, it comes from consumer marketing, right? And so I went to a conference last year and I was really disappointed because it was the same people talking about the same things that we've been talking about for 10 years. I'm like, how are we not changing? Like, there's so much white space in recruiting to do things differently. And so I went home and I was like, kind of existential crisis moment. Like, do I stay in this or do I go back to my consumer marketing roots? And so I started doing all this research and I was like, oh my gosh, it's influencer. Influencer marketing is the number one CMO tactic right now. It's the thing they can't live without. It's above search, it's above display, it's the thing that they won't get rid of. And I was like, well, why don't we have that in jobs? And I started doing my research. I'm like, okay, we have some platforms, but they're all compensating based on a hire, based on an application. And when I started looking at how people are already interacting with social media and their networks and their friends, I'm like, people are already sharing jobs on
Huh.
their social platforms that they find at other companies. And companies are already doing pay per click advertising. What if we kind of mashed those up and created a micro influencer platform where people, regular professionals, who are micro influencers in their space can come in and pick up a job from one of our customers, post it to their TikTok or their Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook, publicly post it. And then we revenue share a pay per click model with them. So we launched in September in a very stealth beta with 6 customers and an influencer reach of 5,000. And that has snowballed to an influencer reach of 115,000, more
Wow.
paying customers, lots of jobs in there, and we're seeing tremendous results with it. So what started as like a why isn't that over here has turned into, oh, this actually works.
Wow. Well, that it's such a great idea. What so is it for when you are thinking about the influencers starting there, of course you're interested in folks who have a following and are out there talking about anything in a discipline or industry or anything where there
Yeah.
might be folks that would like to hear about a job. But could anyone pick this up and say, I don't have a huge following, but I'd like to try this out. Is it for anyone who would like to? If they're getting paid by the click, it wouldn't hurt, I would imagine.
Yeah, we're not looking for like Kardashian level influencers, right? And that's why we call them micro influencers, right? So some of our micro influencers have 250 fans and followers or
Oh,
connections.
okay.
Some of them have 200, 500, thousands, tens of thousands. And what we're really looking for is, do they have a voice in the space? right? And
Yeah.
are they talking about the things that this profession cares about? And are they interacting with it? Are they pushing their industry forward? And those are the kind of people that we're looking for. So yeah, it is for everyone. Who it's not for is like if you have an Instagram with 0 followers and it's private, no, it's not for you. But yeah, if you have a voice and you have a network and you have a platform with that network and you're constantly interacting with that network, then absolutely, we would love to have you come in and share jobs with your friends like you would normally.
Cool. Cool. So um, I know you're out of stealth, but you're still a little bit stealthy
Oh, we're early. Yeah.
as you're yeah as you're launching. What can you tell us about the influencer platforms? Is it mainly Instagram, or is it LinkedIn or TikTok, or is it all of those or any of those?
70% of our clicks come from TikTok. The next biggest is Instagram, and then LinkedIn, and then Facebook. I think Facebook is around 7% of our clicks. But TikTok is huge for our audience. And if you think about what that means for recruiting, it means a lot of great things, right? I know that there are companies who are like, hey, we want to get into TikTok for recruiting, and we can't get it past legal, or we can't get it through this hoop, or we don't know what content to create. And the fact of the matter is, I don't know about you, George, but when I'm scrolling TikTok before bed, you know what I don't stop on and consume?
I'm what I don't
Branded content.
branded
I'm not
exactly. Yeah.
stopping on branded content, right? So I want to like one of the things that's great about this platform is it gives your jobs wings on a platform that nobody's going to pay attention to you otherwise on.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that's and also avoiding that the brand police is a real thing, and the brands
It
want to
is.
do it as well. It's if you're putting the job out on publicly, it's in the public domain, so there's really no conflict if it's being distributed via your platform and you're providing a quality funnel of candidates.
Yeah.
um, I mean, I see that in the content world, right? Like
Yeah.
if I do something like this for certain brands, keep it on WorkTech, because we don't even want to go try to get it approved. Keep it on the WorkTech brand. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how are you? This doesn't sound like a play where you need to be in the uh, I want to be careful of the words. I won't characterize it in the world of job aggregation and job board kind of trading of traffic. Like this is really you're a direct channel for an employer, at least at this time. Is that right?
That's correct. I mean, we have a great partnership agreement with Shaker Advertising. Some of their
Smart.
customers are
Yeah.
getting involved in Flockity. We have had a number of calls from job boards like, hey, can we resell our traffic through your platform? And we're like, we're just not there yet, right? This is just a conversation we're not quite ready for. We have had calls from a lot of the programmatic firms that are like, we want to add this as an option for our customers. And I'm like, we're not quite there yet, right? Because it's not like you're distributing this to a job board. Like we're actually distributing this through other people. And when those people do their job, when they distribute a job and they rack up 50, 100 clicks on a job, they want paid.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so we get into this conversation with these folks and they're like, well, we can't possibly prepay you for these clicks. And I'm like, then we can't find a way to work together yet, right? Because it's not like you're waiting for the performance after at the end of the month. Like these are being delivered in real time, and these folks expect to get their rev share pretty instantly. And so, and most terms are pretty terrible, right? So we try
Yeah.
to get prepayment on it when we can. I mean, there are instances when we don't, and we go through their processes. But for us, it is that direct connection to a person that makes this kind of a powerful place. So it's not, distributing this to an internet entity. You're distributing this to a human.
Right. Right. And you're if you in most all cases where traffic would be coming from, or jobs would be coming from a job board, your it's diluted, right? Your traffic then becomes diluted because what most people outside of the industry don't understand is the dirty little secret that, it's the problem where a candidate clicks on a job and then sees the same job and clicks on it and clicks and clicks and clicks and then finally makes it through to the employer. That's what I
Yeah.
mean by diluted. And you
Yeah.
you don't want your influencers traffic to go through that kind of experience. This is about their
No.
brand
Yes.
along with the employer's brand. So I would think the agencies are a great opportunity for you, as well as the programmatics could, because they operate like agencies. Most of them are now agencies or own agencies, or
Yep.
vice versa. So that's a great channel. So how's it going? You mentioned the growth. This came on really fast. I mean, September it wasn't that long ago.
No.
So what are you raising money? Are you waiting to do that? Where's the business aspect of things right now?
Yeah. So right now we've built such a strong network of influencers that we have 100,000 clicks to sell right now.
Okay.
So we can, and if you look at our, model, it's $2 a click. So that's 200,000 MRR.
Yep.
Which is nothing to sneeze at,
No.
but we've got to start really onboarding more and more customers to feed the engine that we've created, right? So we're currently in the stage of let's get to that scale before we start to add additional influencers. And I think when we get to that 200 MRR, 200K MRR, we'll be open to raising money at that point. But we want to make sure that we have a solid valuation. We want to make sure that we are really in a position that we are cooking for the investor so that we can then start scaling the company to support it.
Yeah. And what does the team look like right now? What does that look like?
Yep. So there are 4 of us, and
Okay,
we are just feverishly working our tails off. We have myself, we have my partner Steve, who developed the technology. We have John Julio running sales for us and chief revenue officer, and then we have Tim Rossetti working our marketing channels and making sure that the content is great and that we are really growing that. And we also have a part-time contractor who's working on influencer relations, right? So making sure that our influencers are taken care of. So when we do onboard a handful of new companies, the influencers know these are the companies that we've onboarded. Here's what's unique about them. Here's what kind of jobs they're hiring for. Now go start sharing.
Yeah. I was just watching some discussions with some founders last night, and you're at the right size. So previously, when capital was cheap back, pre Q2 2022, you saw a lot of startups that even at this stage would rush out for a seed and get to 10, 15 people, or a pre-seed or a seed, and get to that level because the model was driven by the capital and you were sort of scaling ahead of yourself. Yeah. Now, all of those companies are in a really tight spot. And the model is like, 3-4 people, contractors as needed, lean. We're back to the lean startup days. And that's the model that investors are most interested in. And they're looking for metrics, revenue metrics, and early scale. So, I know this isn't your first rodeo, and you're focused on all the right things. So good for you. That's a good place to be in this market. I would imagine you have some folks calling you. Like you're probably given, especially anybody who hears that you've got, 200,000 in revenue to sell of MRR, right? You're going to get some calls from investors. So you're probably keeping them at bay right now.
I am. And I mean, look, I grew up in Akron, Ohio. I lived next to a factory. You don't go ask for money until you know that you can that you can deliver value, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the beautiful things about Flockity is, again, that prepayment model, right? So we get that money in advance and we mark off what's going to be paid to our, to our influencer network, but then we're making money instantaneously, right? So
Right.
like, I've always been challenged by these conversations when it comes to raising money. And they're like, well, profitability is years away. I'm like, no, no, profitability is as soon as you can get there. Like, it's today. If you can get there today, get there today.
Right. Right. Well, I think it's all about, some of it's culture, and the culture that's been built up around the startup culture,
Yep.
around some of it's the hustle, some of it's the sort of chasing the unicorn dream that only happens for very few companies. The success in a VC model, only 10% of VC-backed startups succeed, and something like 60% of them are out after the first year. I was just looking at those metrics the other day, and those are like labor department stats, not like putting your finger up in the air. And those are real numbers. 75% fail in like 7 years. So it's but the culture has shifted, and you could grow successful businesses without VC or with limited external investment, but it takes really knowing, really being comfortable with where you are as a business and how you're going to scale. And the fact that some other folks might be out there getting, a lot of the buzz while you're executing and growing.
Yeah.
I say that a lot of my work with founders is coaching them on really deciding what they want to be when they grow up. If you really want to be the biggest, best known, that's going to take a certain amount of scale and capital. If you want to execute and be solid and be profitable, that's a different mindset if you want to do that from day one, as you've pointed out. So
and I would love to see those numbers for women founders.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, just given the fact that
we get this much investment, right?
Right.
And I think I've seen data that says, that tells us that women founded businesses last longer, are quicker to profitability, and overall perform better. So I just don't understand. Well, I do understand, but I think it's horrifying.
Yeah. It's I know I've seen some of the same. I don't have that data off the top of my head. The other stuff was recent. That's why I can recall it. But we're a little bit better in this market than other B2B markets because the industry itself is better from a gender perspective, but it's still awful. It's not like it's not where it should be.
It's disgraceful.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
Yeah. Good news. I mean, as we've run a couple cohorts through an accelerator focused on this space, it's been pretty balanced, both on the applications as well. And we had a real with intent, we made sure that we were balanced in that way with our cohorts. But I think it's getting better, taking as long as like pay equity, right? Which has got like centuries before that levels out. But I think not to generalize generations. I don't like it when people do that, but what I see and feel is less hesitancy or less they don't bring some of the baggage in either direction that my generation did or our generations might have in both directions. I think it just there's promise. I feel optimistic about this next wave. Yeah, but I'm
excited to see that.
Well, let's start with Flockity. Let's make you let's put you out there as the model. So that would be great. So
I would love that.
So what's next? What's the next thing for Flockity? It's product? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we're product focused, right? We want to make sure that we have a good experience for not just our customers, but for our influencers as well. So one of the things that is interesting, because during the beta, we had over 6,000 jobs in the platform. And there's the opportunity for our influencers to go in and search based on company or job title or all those things. But what we really want to get to is when we onboard a new influencer and we've gone them, put them through our very intense vetting process, right? Because not just everybody gets to share a job. We have to make sure your content is, brand kind of approved. But once we get through that vetting process and we onboard them, we'd really like to ingest their networks so that we could study their networks and understand who their followers are, who their fans are, what their professions are, so that when they do log in and they start searching, we can bubble up the jobs that are going to be most revenue producing for them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great. And then you're creating, you've got a community of influencers, and you're over time, you're going to have an incredible volume of candidate data that's flowing through Flockity as well.
Yeah.
So, there's some really interesting perspectives and directions you could take with that, for sure.
Absolutely. One of the most fascinating pieces of the beta was learning who clicks on these pieces of who clicks on these jobs, right? When we went through the beta, we ran the data and we compared it to our customers, because we're tracking everything. Obviously, that's how this works. But when we started looking at our customers' data, 97% of the traffic we drove to our customers was net new. They'd never been to the career site before.
Oh, wow.
Ever. Right? So when we talk about traffic you cannot get anywhere else, that's what we're talking about. These are people who had not thought of working for you.
Right.
And now they're looking at you. So like when we look at that infinity loop or the funnel, like we're really talking about, this is the greatest awareness play for a brand out there right now.
Yeah. And I would imagine that, they're not following, there could be an influencer who's focused on jobs, but they're really focused on other things. They're focused on, being a nurse, being a salesperson, being a doctor, being, a last mile delivery person, whatever. And I'm watching because I'm interested in this conversation. It's fun. It's educational. It's inspiring, whatever they're getting from it. And like, wow, there's a job here. That sounds pretty cool. Like that's the ultimate in, I'll say passive candidates because that's what the industry says, but sure. It's really latent. They're not thinking about a job when they go to this content.
Absolutely. We call them opportunity harvesters, right? So they're not thinking about it. They're not thinking about work. They're not thinking about working with you. But now they are. Right now you've gotten their attention, and most of our influencers aren't making specific videos about the companies, right? Because they don't work there. It's disingenuous, right? They're like, hey, I'm a salesperson and I came across this great sales job at XYZ company. Go click my link in bio, right?
Yeah.
It's not for them. And we've had customers like, oh, can we give the influencers a script? And we're like, no. First of all, it's not $2 a click for that activity. You would have to pay them a significantly amount more of money than that. But it's allowing them the creative freedom to say, oh, this is the job. And what we do is when we put all the jobs in the platform, we let them pick what's interesting to their followers, right? So we start to get some data around what's interesting to their followers. We were shocked when we had great results with hospitality jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Is that, so that's on premise, like frontline type hospitality or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And tech surprised me too, because you know what it's like to try to recruit a data analyst or a software developer. They're not listening to you ever. I married one, and he just just swipes all of your content. He's like, no, thank you. And tech performed off the charts for us.
That's interesting. Awesome. There was a period where one influencer in tech, she's an engineer in the Bay Area, and she started to put out a lot of really critical content around management and a lot of talent related issues. I remember, that's what brought it into my feed.
Yeah.
And she would talk about, how did she get into this job? How did she get where she was as an engineer? And that would be the perfect place for, by the way, here are, 10 jobs, or hit my link in the bio. And,
Yep.
and she would talk about entry level. She would talk about senior positions, all of it.
Yeah.
But it was more her path. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I can see that. But they're not there looking for jobs. So that's the key. You're getting into a little micro community, if you will, with content, but you're not distracting them. You're not a speed bump in the process.
No.
And so, yeah, you're getting, it's a very low ask, but high level of engagement and commitment. It makes a lot of sense.
Thanks.
So what do you need right now? Is it customers? Is it partners? Is it both of those things?
Yep. Customers and partners. We are open for business. We would love to see your clients' jobs in the nest that we call it. We call it the nest because we're adorable. And
Flockity, right?
Flockity. Anyway, the more jobs, the better.
Yeah.
We want to see what different industries and how different industries perform, different professions perform. So we are absolutely looking for customers. We're absolutely looking for partners. I would say 3 to 6 months out, we may be looking for investors, but we're starting to build those relationships now.
Of course. Yeah. And so how would someone engage in one of those, in any of those conversations with you? Where would they find
Absolutely.
you? Yep.
Yeah, www.flockity.com, FLOCKITY.com. There's a nice little form. You can fill out that form. There's also an opportunity to download our white paper from the beta to learn more about how that worked. But yeah, John will be in touch with you as soon as you fill out that form.
Great. Tracey, anything I didn't ask you about that you wanted to share with everyone? Or, I could keep going and going, but I'm sensitive to time. So
no, I get it.
Okay. Anything that you want to, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out there thinking, there's got to be a better way to reach my candidate audience, we found the better way to reach your candidate audience, right? So give us a holler, and we would love to work with you.
Yeah, it sounds like a great opportunity for folks to be a first mover in a category that we haven't done real well at exploiting from a recruitment perspective. So, Tracey, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you'll come back as you build, and we can talk about all of your success, how the product's shaping. I'd love to do that and keep the audience up to date. But thank you for your time. I know how busy you are.
We're all busy, George. It's just time. I got to go back downstairs and work on the time manufacturing machine. It'll be fine.
There you go. All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching or listening. And Tracey, until next time.
Thanks, George.